Then the next ratio that we need to calculate is the price sales multiple. And once again, the calculation comes directly from the name of this ratio. We take the market value of equity, or in other words, the share price, and we divide by revenue or sales. So we take the share price and we divide by sales, and that gives us the price sales multiple. Now we can't perform this calculation in our example because we don't have revenue. It's important to note, guys, that the usefulness of this multiple is reduced when comparing entities with different capital structures, because the numerator only takes equity into account. So you can see that over there. The numerator only takes equity into account. So where we are trying to make comparisons and the entities have different capital structures, it's actually better to rather perform the next calculation. So the market value of invested capital over sales multiple. And you can see this is similar to the price sales multiple above. However, because it considers both debt and equity, it has the benefit of lower sensitivity to differences in capital structure. And we perform this calculation by taking the market value of invested capital and dividing by revenue. So once again, the calculation comes from the name. Then please note, guys, once again, we have looked at this now a few times. That's how you calculate invested capital. It's total shareholders' equity, or the market value of equity, plus the market value of interest-bearing debt, plus the market value of preference share capital, minus non-operating assets, and included in non-operating assets should be excess cash. Then for the price to book multiple, we take the market value of equity, or the share price, and we divide by the book value of equity. So we are comparing the market value of equity to the book value of equity. So this multiple is similar to the price earnings multiple in that it also gives us an indication of the market's perception of the entity. High growth entities will have higher price book multiples because, guys, you are comparing the share price, or the market value of equity, to the book value of equity. So obviously, if you have a very high multiple over here, it means that the share price is very high compared to the book value. So a high multiple means high growth prospects, or the market expects that the company will have good future growth prospects, and that's why they are prepared to pay more for the shares in that company. Once again, we can't perform this calculation in our example because there's insufficient information available. Then the next ratio calculation is the dividend yield, and this ratio indicates the return in the form of dividends that investors derive on their investment. And you perform this calculation by taking the dividend and dividing by the market value of equity. Now, guys, when it comes to the discussion of this ratio, shareholder preference should always be considered. So do shareholders prefer dividends, or do they prefer their return in the form of capital growth in the share price? Because shareholders who prefer higher dividends are obviously going to want a higher dividend yield. So this gives you an answer as a percentage. If shareholders prefer dividends, they are going to want high dividends, meaning they are going to want a higher dividend yield. On the other hand, if shareholders are more interested in the capital growth in their share price, they won't be interested in a high dividend yield. They are more concerned that money is retained in the company for investment purposes so that the share price can grow, and one day when they sell their shares, they will make a gain on the sale of the shares. So whenever discussing this calculation, please consider shareholder preference. Let's perform this calculation in our example. So we calculate the dividend yield by taking the dividend and dividing by the market value of equity. if you go back to the information provided in the question, there's the dividend. So take the dividend and divide by the market value of equity to get the dividend yield. Please just note also when we get to our discussion, we can benchmark to the industry average because you have been provided with the industry average. The dividend yield for the industry is 5%. All right, so once again, in addition to calculating the dividend yield, you can also calculate the movement. So you calculate the movement by taking the current year dividend yield, deducting the prior year, and dividing by the prior year. So you can see we have a dividend yield of 5% in both years, so there's a 0% movement. If we look at our discussion, let's first interpret this ratio. This ratio indicates the return in the form of dividends that investors derive on their investment. Shareholder preference towards dividends or capital growth should be considered when commenting on this ratio. Shareholders who prefer higher dividends instead of capital growth will require a higher dividend yield. We can also benchmark this to the industry average. Remember, the industry average was also 5%, so Keen Limited's dividend yield is in line with the industry average. And we can also benchmark to the prior year. Once again, there's no movement from the prior year to the current year. So Keen Limited's ratio has remained stable from the prior year. Then the next calculation is the dividend cover. And please note, we have already discussed this in detail when we looked at return on invested capital ratios. So I'm not going to discuss this again. Please refer back. But please note that dividend cover can be calculated in the category return on invested capital ratios or also in the category financial market or investor ratios. So let's perform the calculation in our example. You calculate the dividend cover by taking earnings per share and dividing by the dividend per share. And please note, when it comes to our discussion, we can also compare this to the industry averages which were provided. All right, so first calculate the dividend cover for 20x4 and for 20x3 by taking earnings per share and dividing by dividends per share. Then we can also calculate the movements in dividend cover by taking the current year, deducting the prior year, and dividing by the prior year. So we can see it increased by 16.15% from the prior year. Let's interpret the ratio. This ratio indicates the ability of Keen Limited to pay dividends and the likelihood of a cut. The interpretation comes directly from your lecture notes. We said we can also benchmark to the industry average. So if you compare the calculation that we performed over here to the industry average, you'll see that Keen Limited's dividend cover is lower than the industry average in both years, meaning that the industry average has a higher, or the industry has a higher dividend cover in both years. So if we discuss this in a bit more detail, guys, if the industry has a higher dividend cover, that means either their earnings are higher than Keen Limited's earnings, because if the earnings are higher, they'll have a higher dividend cover, or it means that the industry has a more conservative dividend policy and are paying out smaller dividends relative to their earnings. Because if the dividend is smaller relative to earnings, they will have a higher dividend cover. So this indicates that other companies in the industry have a more conservative dividend policy, so they're paying out smaller dividends relative to their earnings, or they have higher earnings, and that will cause the industry average to be higher than Keen Limited's dividend cover. So because Keen Limited's dividend cover is lower than the industry average, there's a risk that their dividend is potentially too high. However, if you go back to the dividend yield that we calculated previously, this is not reflected in the dividend yield because the dividend yield was in line with the average and also it remained stable from the prior year. So this is not reflected in the dividend yield, which remained constant and in line with the industry average. But please remember, when it comes to discussing this calculation in more detail, shareholder preference towards dividends or capital growth should be considered for further comment. We can also benchmark this calculation to the prior year and give a potential reason. So guys, we can see that the dividend cover has increased from the prior year to the current year. It increased by 16.15%. So because it's increasing, it's moving more in line with the industry average. So it's improved from the prior year to the current year. And the reason for this is because earnings are growing at a faster rate than dividends. And you'll see we are going to perform this calculation just below. So once we've performed the calculations below, I'll come back and discuss this again with you guys. Let's just go to the lecture notes to make sure that we have looked at all of the ratio calculations. So the next calculation that you need to perform is the dividend per share. And this ratio indicates the profits that are distributed to shareholders. And we calculate the dividend per share by taking the dividend and dividing by the weighted average number of ordinary shares. Please note, guys, you just need to multiply this by 100 because you always want your dividend per share to be in cents. Now, we don't need to calculate the dividend per share in our lecture example because it was provided. Here's the dividends per share for 20x4 and for 20x3. So we don't need to calculate the dividend per share. However, we can calculate the movements. So to calculate the movement in the dividend per share, you take the current year dividend per share, you deduct the prior year, and you divide by the prior year. So we can see that the dividend per share has increased by 26.67% from the prior year to the current year. So that's quite a substantial increase. So it's increased substantially in 20x4. However, guys, we can't say whether that increase is positive or negative unless we consider shareholder preference. Obviously, if shareholders prefer dividends, they will be happy with the increase in the dividend per share. However, if shareholders prefer capital growth in their share price, they would rather that the company doesn't pay out high dividends. They rather keep the money in the company and use it for investment purposes to grow the value of the company, so that one day when the shareholders sell their shares, they'll make a gain on the sale of their shares. So we can't actually comment any further here. We can't say whether the ratio has improved or deteriorated unless we can compare this or unless we can discuss this in conjunction with shareholder preference. So shareholder preference towards dividends or capital growth should be considered for any further comment. Then the next ratio that we need to calculate is earnings per share. And this ratio indicates the profits that are available for distribution to shareholders. So the dividend per share shows the profits that are distributed to shareholders, whereas earnings per share shows the profits that are available for distribution. Now, once again, guys, you are going to multiply this by 100 so that you can get your answer in cents. This is your interpretation. And please note, we did already discuss this calculation in detail when we looked at our profitability ratios. So please refer back to the profitability ratios where this was discussed in detail. The same applies to headline earnings per share, We discussed this in detail when we looked at our profitability ratios. So please refer back for further discussion. Alright guys, so those are all of the ratios that fall in the category financial market or investor ratios. Now, let's just look at calculating earnings per share in our lecture example. If you go back to our lecture example, guys, please note you don't need to calculate earnings per share because earnings per share was provided. However, we can calculate the movement in earnings per share. So take the current year, deduct the prior year, and divide by the prior year. Earnings per share have increased significantly by 47.44% from the prior year. So obviously, guys, an increase in earnings per share shows an improvement from the prior year to the current year. So earnings per share improved significantly in the current year. Now, it's possible to link this back to the price earnings multiple that we calculated previously. When we calculated the price earnings multiple, we saw that Keen Limited performed better than the industry average in both years because they had a higher multiple in both years. So remember, we said that means investors perceive Keen Limited to have higher potential growth and or lower investment risk. Now guys, we are calculating the growth in earnings per share. So that's why we can link our discussion to the PE multiple, because we are calculating growth. And a high PE multiple indicates higher potential growth. However, we did also calculate that the price earnings multiple deteriorated from the prior year to the current year, whereas the industry average was actually improving from the prior year to the current year. Okay, so here's the movement in our earnings per share. We saw that there is a significant improvement in earnings per share from the prior year to the current year. Now guys, during tough economic times, it may be very difficult for Keen Limited to sustain such high growth. This is really very significant growth. During tough economic times, they might not be able to sustain this growth rate. And that could be the reason why the PE multiple has deteriorated from the prior year to the current year, because the market does not expect the significant increase in earnings to continue. All right. So the reason for the deterioration in the multiple from the prior year to the current year is because this type of growth is not expected to continue in the future, especially during tough economic times. Then just one thing that I left out that we need to just clear up. Remember, I said to you, the reason why this was their dividend cover. The reason why the dividend cover improved from the prior year to the current year was because earnings are growing at a faster rate than dividends. So you can now see that. Earnings are growing at a rate of 47.44%, whereas dividends are growing at a rate of 26.67%. So because earnings are growing at a faster rate than dividends, that resulted in an improvement in the dividend cover from the prior year to the current year.